Hey guys, so welcome to the second video in the knee strike series for the flow training program. So in the first video, we really just covered the basic technique when it comes to using knee strikes. And I hope that before you get into this video, you've actually taken some time to practice, right? We talked about balance and how important balance is when it comes to using knee strikes. So in this video, we're going to be looking at the application of the knee strike. So now that we understand the basic technique, how do we actually use it in a self-defense situation? As usual, I have my friend Bob here who's going to help us out. Now, as you can see, I've actually put a sweater on Bob today, and there's a reason for that. The knee strike is a technique where I'd say 90% of the time you're actually going to be grabbing your opponent in order to do it. All right, so I wanted to be able to demonstrate that properly, which is why Bob is wearing a sweater. So, again, start off with your basic technique, right? Basic stance, feet shoulder width apart, knees slightly bent, good posture, hands are up. So now my opponent, let's say, is right here in front of me. The first thing I want to do if I'm intending to plan a knee strike is I want to grab. Okay, I want to grab the sweater, the jacket, whatever it is that they're wearing. Even if it's a t-shirt. Even if it's a t-shirt, I want to grab it up near the collar. There's two reasons for this. Okay, there's two reasons why I want to grab onto something. Reason one is it makes balance so much easier, right? It's so much easier to balance on one leg if I'm actually holding something than if I'm trying to do it without holding onto something. The second reason I want to grab is that I want to be able to pull my opponent towards me, right? Because if I'm able to pull this person towards me, as I'm pulling, as we practiced in the first video, right? We simulated that pulling technique. This is where it comes in, is I'm pulling this person towards me so that when my knee comes up, it's actually going to increase the power because that person's already moving towards me as my knee comes up, and the impact happens in between those two movements. Okay? So as far as grabbing, like I said, you really want to grab up high, up near the collar. Really get a good solid grip. And then as you pull in, you're actually going to want to do something here, which is a little more advanced, but I think it's important to understand it, is you kind of want to just scoot your hips back. Because by scooping your hips back, you're giving more room for your hips to come forward and generate the power on that knee strike. So my hands are up, I'm in front of my opponent, I grab the collar, I scoop my hips back, and I pull towards me. Okay, so I grab, bring my hips back, and then I pull as I bring that knee up towards its target. And again, if you're practicing this, even if you're practicing with a partner, have your partner kind of just put their hands up so they can hit your hands, or they can hold a pillow, or really anything that just, obviously, so you don't hit them, you hit something else, okay? So the other thing I want you to focus on also here is what is your target, right? What are the targets when it comes to the knee strike? The most obvious target, right, especially if you're fighting a man, is you're going to want to aim for the groin. Now, in competitive martial arts where you use knee strikes, the groin is not allowed. But in a self-defense situation, of course, this is your primary target. So as you're pulling towards you, you are bringing your knee up right into the groin area. Okay, that's your primary target. But it could also happen that for whatever reason, that person has their hips back, which makes the groin harder to reach. At that point, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to bring your knee up a little bit higher, and you're going to aim for the stomach, right? So in the stomach, we talked about once, is you have the liver that's very vulnerable. You also have the solar plexus, right? So that liver, if we take the sweater off, I can show you. So the liver is this general area here, and then the solar plexus is right here, right in the center of the pectoral muscles and where the pecs meet the abs. That's your solar plexus. So if you can land a nice strong knee strike to the liver or to the solar plexus, you can also do some really good damage. Okay? You can go for the head, but let's be honest, that's not going to be very easy to achieve. So don't even bother practicing that. What I would definitely practice is you want to pull towards you, aim for the groin, pull towards you, aim for the right above the belt, which is where the liver is found, and then pull towards you and aim for that solar plexus, which is a little bit higher up. So the next thing I want to cover, now that we understand how to use if the person is clothed, I also want to talk about what do we do if the person's not necessarily wearing a jacket or a sweater. What if they're just wearing a very tight-fitting t-shirt, or for whatever reason, maybe they're not wearing a shirt at all? Is there still a way to grab? Is there still a way to use this technique? Of course there is. If you watch any competitive martial arts, they're not wearing jackets and sweaters, right? So I want to talk a little bit about the technique, which is a clinching technique. Okay, this is called clinching. Now there's different ways that you can use this. Strength does play a part here. So remember, you don't want to get into a battle of strength, especially if your opponent is much bigger, much stronger than you. What you're trying to do is surprise them with this technique. So there's two different options here. Option one is to grab the neck this way. I'm going to say that this is probably harder for you if you're smaller and weaker than your opponent. Okay, because as soon as you do this, if that person is strong enough, they just have to lift up and it's going to be very hard for you to match that strength. Okay, so I'm not actually going to cover that technique for this particular video. This will be in another level of self-defense training. What we're going to talk about is reaching across this way. Okay, because if you can surprise someone, reach across and pull fast enough, you can get that shot to the groin quite quickly and quite effectively. The main thing to focus on is if your hands are up here, you're reaching with both hands, right? And you want your arm, your forearm, actually to hit the neck. By hitting the neck, you can make that person a little bit off balance, okay? And you're also ensuring that you're not grabbing too far down the shoulder. Because if I were to grab too far down the shoulder and that person pulls back, my hand's gonna slip. What I want to do instead is I want to get this hand, this arm on the neck, and so that this hand can cup right at the base of the neck here. So if that person pulls back, I still have a really good grip. Then my other hand can grab the shoulder or even the tricep. If I can get one hand on the neck and one hand on the tricep, I'm going to have a really good grip. The tricep being the muscle on the back of the arm. He doesn't have any arms. Sorry about that. Okay? So one hand goes here. I grab the base of the skull, the base of the neck. The other one goes here on the shoulder or tricep. Same exact technique. I throw my hips back and I pull towards me to get that strike either to the groin or to the liver or to the solar plexus. Okay, so that is your basic application for the knee strike technique. There's a lot more that you can do with this technique, but I think that if you can, first of all, get very comfortable with the balance and the basic technique behind it, and second, if you're comfortable with the grab and pull, both with clothing or without clothing, and that you understand your three main targets, which are the groin, the liver, and the solar plexus, all that's left after that is repeating as often as possible so that you feel super comfortable with this technique so that in a time of need, you'll be comfortable using it. Okay? So as usual, if you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me and I look forward to the next video. Peace.